Shalom, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Evangelist Corner. I pray it is going to be a barakah to all of you. I know that I look forward to this time together because I love evangelism. Evangelism is really the pure act of rescuing a soul that otherwise would have ended up in eternal demise, right? So evangelism is pulling them right out of the fire. And so that's why I believe it is the one thing that we can never forget to do and never stop doing, no matter how much we learn, no matter how much we grow, no matter how much we feel like, oh, I don't know anything. My goodness, in the last year, I've learned so much. It makes me wonder what I was saying a year ago, right? Maybe you're one of those people. Shalom, my dear sister. And so maybe you're one of those folks that are sitting there saying, my goodness, I feel like I don't know anything. But you see, one of the things that we want to talk about tonight is how that relationships and relationship evangelism is a very important part of reaching people and also telling your story. One of the things I think a lot of times people try to do is have sort of the perfect story to tell. And I really feel like that's a fool's errand, folks. We live in a messed up world with a lot of messed up situations. And for us to be trying to project that anybody's got a perfect story, well, that's just insulting the process. And if you do happen to have a perfect story, well, you're the only one because no one's going to be able to relate to that. The rest of us are relating to the bumps and bruises, the battles of earth, the difficulties of everyday life, right? And so joining me tonight, we're going to be talking about relationship evangelism. And I can't think of better people to have with me than my brother Paul Spitz, who, of course, is pastor of the Way of the Remnant, and also my brother David Colon. So they're going to be joining us now for this conversation as we discuss this really important way to think about evangelism. It's really not the the big Reinhard Bonnke meeting. It's not the Billy Graham version. It's not the big preacher at the front with the big mega horn. David, this is a different style of evangelism, isn't it? It's a whole different thing.
Yes. I think it's one of the most effective forms of evangelism. I think there's a lot of effective evangelism out there, but when you can connect with somebody and relate to somebody in their suffering, in their pain, that is such a powerful tool. And I've been through so much that
Right.
I can cry at the drop of a hat with somebody,
Right.
and that's important. As we build that relationship, because you have to build that relationship. You can't it's not going out there and, hey, have you heard the good news? Blah, blah, blah. That's just not the way it is. I think it's relational evangelism is probably the most effective.
So. I have to agree. I think that I have to agree. I think that they really encapsulates the entire point of evangelism, which is to bring you into relationships. So it sort of makes sense. What's your thoughts on that, Pastor Paul? And thank you for joining us with a better connection.
Yes, very happy to be here. Yeah, we're gonna hope and pray for that, aren't we? And we got some people in our intercessory corner that are praying that it does. But no, guys, there's nothing better than the personal part. This touch that you can't have the same way unless you get to know people and you get to have that thing with them. And I think that's very important. I'd have to agree with you.
I really can't think of when it comes to evangelism, of course, I think we can all agree, right, that this is the most important thing, right? We go into all the world, right? Can we all agree that no matter what you're calling, that this is even Apostle Paul writing to Timothy says, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. Even though he may not necessarily have been called to be an evangelist, he was doing the work of an evangelist, wasn't he? Isn't that right, David?
Absolutely. Everybody is really can be considered worthy of evangelism. I mean, there's not a special school that you go to.
That's right.
It's not some special flowery words that you're going to come up with.
That's right.
It really is just getting down and really touching people and touching their hearts and really getting them to the place where they can receive.
Yeah, I have to agree. What's your thoughts, Paul? We're just really getting people to a place where, like he said, that they can receive. Isn't that true?
It really is. And at the end of the day, that's really, we had a very hard this week on Shabbat when it came to this topic. This was something that, as people in the ministry are, we sometimes have a word that kind of creeps up on us last Yahuwah, like we're about to do this, we need to have this. That wasn't like that for me last week. What was big on me is that we have to do everything that we can to get this in front of people, because there's just nothing, there is no higher calling than this. There's not thing that you can say
I have to agree.
in life on a higher shelf than people to relationship with Yahuwah. There is no greater calling. There's no greater anointing. There's no greater mission. That is what we're here to do as Nazarene. That is the number one thing. And we had a very intimate thing about that this week. That's what was on my ruach. That's what's on me this week, is that we really done our best to be that in the lives of the ones that are around. And that's what I felt. So that's my 2 cents.
That's a great, and David, that's a great question, because one of the things that we've noticed, and again, this is 30 years for me. David's been with me most of that journey. Of course, he's my cousin, but I mean, actively with me in the work of the ministry for most of that journey. And I think we can safely say we're watching. There are some elements of resurgence, but we're also watching a real complacency, wouldn't you say, regarding evangelism. And so on the one hand, we're seeing, there's sort of an effort on Christian colleges, and that seems to be almost a recurring theme. There seems to be some of that, but the real evangelism, to bring them into the gospel of the kingdom of Eloah Hayam, the kingdom of the Most High, where they are out of the kingdom of darkness. We're not seeing that effort. We're almost seeing, something else. David, you tell me what we're seeing.
Well, I can tell you what we're seeing. Paul touched on this a little bit yesterday. We can get frozen in the it's about to end any moment now. Any moment now, it's about to end. And truthfully, that paralyzes people into some type of complacency that they really can't get out of.
It doesn't seem logical to me, because if you believed, and this is, humor me, please, for a moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Please just humor me. And this is for my formerly Christian, or even presently Christian, even Catholics, even evangelicals, any of you who may be watching. I mean, we love you all. So, but aren't we essentially, aren't we essentially vacating our responsibility when it comes to sharing the gospel of the kingdom? Aren't we supposed to be not only sharing it,
absolutely,
but living it?
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
And so if you're not actually living it, don't your words fall to the ground?
Absolutely.
And the sharing of the gospel becomes almost an empty, vain exercise. Now, what I can't understand, and as I said, I really would love the input of those of you that are believers in Messiah, just that alone. I'd like to know. And I lost the thought. Oh, yes. That if you're believing in this any minute now, thinking why that's not resulting, if that's true, if you really believe that. See, I don't believe that they believe that.
Okay.
But if they really believed it, because I think that their actions would reflect that they really believe that. right? So if you're a person that believes like he's coming tomorrow, like it's going to be tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
How's that affecting your behavior? Are you out ministering to people? Are you out getting that last soul saved? You really thought it was going to be tomorrow, and this is what you decided to do with your last day,
Right.
right? Okay,
Right.
so
Yeah.
this is kind of what I'm saying is that it's like if you really believe these hucksters on Facebook and YouTube that you're going to get whisked out of here at any minute now, all right, shouldn't that be meaning that in order to make that whisking away thing that you'd be redoubling your effort to be found faithful? Because I'm pretty sure he's not whisking away the unfaithful.
Right.
He said, well done, thou good and faithful.
Time for a very brief history and like it's happened.
So that was, to me, seems like such a disconnect for me. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah,
Paul.
so I didn't mean to interrupt. So there's an event that happened like this in history, and it was called the Great Disappointment. And many denominations that we see today in the churchianity world came from this. And what happened was that Wheeler did a big study, and I will say his team, and they did a lot of things right, but there were some pieces to that puzzle that as men, we don't always have.
Right.
And so with missing a piece of the puzzle, they had the idea that calculating from Daniel from a certain time that they believed that an event happened, they counted forward. And what happened was one of the biggest revivals that we had seen in a while. And what happened was that basically the math, like on this date, this is going to end. And Miller, excuse me, and preached this idea. And in the world, there were people that they quit their jobs. They went out in fields and did all these things. They were ready for the world to end. They were looking up at the sky one day. All the hecklers, then there will always be hecklers, right? They had the biggest field day of their life with this because they thought they had done everything right, and the outcome is that obviously the world did not end in the 1800s.
Right.
And so what
they had other things happen, but that wasn't it.
A lot of things happened. That wasn't the one. And so the outcome of that, the fallout of that was that we got splintered out. And
1988, remember that? 88 reasons why he's got to come in 88. Then it was 89 reasons it's going to be 89. Remember that guy? And we were all face palming, man. We're all like, no, you didn't do this. Sure enough. Okay. So, but my question is, if you believe that, I'm just saying, fine, maybe you're one of those people along the way that thought, next week, man, it's it. We're done. We're never making it by. Maybe you're one of those people. My question is, what did you do with that week?
Very, very good question.
If you thought, if you've ever been where you thought, oh, this fall feast for sure.
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you look back now at that time period and say, I'm real proud of the way I behaved? David, I don't know. I don't think I have ever looked back and said I couldn't have done more.
Absolutely. You would think that it would be a motivation for people to, drop what they're doing and go out there and go out with a bang, right?
That's what makes me very suspicious that they even believe it, because if they even believe that, you would see such behavior, so much different behavior. They would have all things in common. They would have long ago disconnected from all Babylonian everything. And that just isn't what you're watching. You're watching them stay in Babylon while they're like keeping an eye out the window.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we live in a society of, this is, ultimately this is about me and my salvation, and truth of the, that couldn't be further from the truth. So that's really what you're touching on it, Peter, is that I don't think that they truly believe.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
if they believe that their bank was going to close and that if they don't get their money out by tomorrow afternoon, that they won't have it, I think you'd see them in line for the bank.
Sure.
I think if they believe that their house is going to get robbed tomorrow afternoon, I think they'd be standing guard over their house. I think if they believed that somebody was trying to steal their car and it was somebody in the parking lot was casing their car I think it would affect their behavior. That's my point, is their belief would affect their behavior.
Sure.
So when I see people profess a belief that does not affect their behavior, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yes.
Does anybody else see that? You guys seeing the same thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. And that's exactly what you see. No man will know the day, the hour, or the time. That's
right.
Scripture. That's word.
But if you actually believe it's next week, right?
Right.
Or any minute now, like some people, since 2011, this one channel, if
Yes.
you run the word rapture on it, it's literally every third video this person did. And they use it like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
Okay. For the last 15 years. And I'm like, wow, this is like abusive. It's abusive.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like the dog who cried wolf on steroids.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
On serious steroids, man.
And it's so destructive. It's so destructive, guys. This is something that we actually spoke about this week in my pastoral meeting with the congregation is that we can see that things are heating up. But guys, I'm going to tell you, the first century thought it was the final days. In 1800, they thought it was the final days. Rewind. Every generation sees things that we can relate to the scripture, but none of us.
In the 60s, yeah.
The absolute version of the prophecy we expect to see. And what I see is, instead of the urgency of, you need to double down, we need to work harder, like, guys, this is happening, we get the, oh man, ET phone home, Scotty, beam me up type of attitude, where it's like, we just almost like sit down on the couch and it's like, we're done. We don't have to do anything.
There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect from the real message, isn't there, David?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a society that we've grown up in. So I don't blame people per se, but on the same token, it's like, guys, what are you doing with the time that you have? Right. And that's where the disconnect is.
Right.
So
what are you doing with the time that you have? And does it inform on your beliefs? In other words, and I believe it does. I believe everybody tells on themselves, right? So again, as I said, if somebody believes certain things, it affects their choices.
Yes.
So when it's not affecting your choices, it tells me you don't really believe that. Okay. And even though you might recite it, you might say it if someone asks you, in terms of you really believing it.
Yes.
It's not true.
Right.
If you really believe that he's going to judge certain things, you would not behave certain ways. You kind of believe, it doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah.
So what has occurred is we've had exactly what Apostle Paul warned about, that evil men and seducers would wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And now that's basically morphed evangelism into, you're saved if you're waiting for a ticket out.
Right. My goodness. Yeah.
Such a destructive idea.
Now,
it's so
the gospel of
destructive.
the kingdom is an invitation to a new relationship. The gospel of the kingdom is an invitation to Hebrew, or cross over into a new nation, to come out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of his dear son.
Yes.
It is a migration.
Yes.
For lack of a better word. So you used to be another, and now you're inside. You used to be out here, and now you're in here. You used to be Nigerian, but now you're an American, right? You're formerly from Nigeria. You used to be Nigerian, but now you moved here, so now you're an American. Okay? You can add any country to that example, because America is a perfect melting pot example for the last days, a beautiful picture of that. And the fact is that you can come from anywhere to this country, right? Okay. In the same way, you can come to the kingdom from anywhere. But when you come to the kingdom, you are no longer that other country or that other thing. You are now in the kingdom. And so now you need to speak American. You need to speak American. American. Yeah.
American.
American. Okay, you need to be able to understand these folks. Okay.
Well, right? It's like we wouldn't.
But it's true though.
At some point, and speak their language and all this stuff. Like if you go to a foreign country, as a default, you're gonna have to communicate with the people. You're gonna have to do as the people do. You're gonna have to abide by their laws. When you come to the kingdom of Yahuwah, should we think that that's less than this thing that we would have to do to just go to a foreign country? So that's my 2 cents, is that
right.
we should be putting Yahuwah's kingdom on the highest shelf we can. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of lies to untangle.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that, and so I mean, that's the biggest challenge for any evangelist is to really kind of get them to see
Right.
Where the lies have been spun.
Right.
Like the whole rapture thing. I mean, come on.
Exactly. The rapture issue is one that I think is going to stay with us until the king comes, right? But I do think that it does reflect on the genuine versus the false. Paul, I know you're got to run, but before you do, last words. What's your thoughts on that last point?
My thing that's been really strong in my ruach this week is that, there's the good things and the bad things, the genuine and the unclean. And guys, right now, the biggest focus we need to have is just if we treat this like this is the highest order, the greatest calling, we just need to treat it like that. And we need to consider this like it is a war every day. We need to live every day like this is the highest priority, and we could band together. And my biggest thing on this with my thoughts, we just all need to continue to push and realize this is a war and treat it like such. And that's really my 2 cents, is that if this was a war, if this was the highest thing and souls were the highest currency, that we should live every single day like there's nothing more important than that. And that's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word. Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate your insight. Always appreciate Pastor Paul. And David, that is exactly right, isn't it? I mean, after all, if you're real, if you're authentic, isn't that going to reflect in the way that you not only live your life, but how you make your relationships?
Absolutely. You have to be able to speak with conviction with what with what you know. And you can always tell somebody that it's not fully convicted because they just kind of it's okay, I'll pray for those people and all that, and I understand it, but the bottom line is that this is an urgent hour. What we are.
I guess I'm not talking about the people that are half in, half out. I'm talking about. I guess let me paint this scenario a little bit differently. Okay. Because I think that there are people that are believers that love Yahuwah, that love the work, and that they want to share, but they don't really understand they think of evangelism as, again, you have to be like this sort of perfect person, and you're sharing, this because the message is perfect. You feel like you need to be perfect in order to deliver it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And instead, my encouragement in relationship evangelism is talking about how your relationship with Yahuwah has evolved.
Yes.
Has moved from, say, you started in Buddhism, say you started in New Age, say you started in low levels, something else out there, who knows, right? And then you journeyed to this point. That to me, David, when you talk about relationship evangelism, when I hear you use words like that, I think about people seeing your walk and say, hey, you used to be over here and now you're over here. Tell me about that. And you have an answer. Not, I'm always been perfect and had it right. No. I used to be deceived. I used to think this. I used to think that. Let me tell you. I felt that way. I know that's, I felt that way. Let me tell you what I found. And that moved me to here. This, David, seems to me, it's part of that relationship or relational, because I don't think anybody can relate to that mountaintop perfect picture that that evangelism is on a lot of people's minds. But I definitely think they can relate to the guy that says, look, I'm no better than you. Come see the one who just told me everything I didn't know, or come hear the voice of Messiah, right? So isn't that what they were doing in the first century? Come, he's here. You know, I'm not the guy. He's the guy. Right. And it was very obvious that they weren't pointing at themselves, whereas it got a little muddy out there. And people start getting confused that they thought they needed to be the gospel instead of sharing the gospel and walking with one another. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely. That was one of the first baptisms that I did was with the gentleman that I spent months. It wasn't just days.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Months.
Share that.
Yes, it was months.
Perfect
and
example.
months. You know, I would come over. You know, I was cleaning pools at the time on the side, just make a little extra scratch. You know, and I started. You know, the Ruach led me to start sharing and really starting to get him to see,
listen to
that
this guy.
What was being preached from the mainstream pulpit, you know, had a lot of errors in it, and doctrines of men, you know, and from him coming from a Catholic background, well, he immediately related to that. He's like, yeah, that's, you know, these guys. Anyway. Make a long story short, but you know what? And then when it came time to leave, the Ruach would say, "Okay, stop right there. Come back next week."
Interesting.
So I kept.
So the Ruach was pulling you back.
Yes.
Not letting you give it like full force, right?
No.
Interesting.
No,
a little bit at a time.
Relationship. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Building the relationship first. That was first and foremost. You don't just come out and start blasting them with.
Well, some people do. They stand up on a street corner. They're like, if you don't say the name of Yahusha, if you don't say it right, you're going to hell, which technically he's got a point. But the way you're delivering that message might not be the most effective, is all we're saying.
Yes, that really is.
We're not saying it isn't effective.
Right.
It might work for some people.
In
so
some
we
situations.
should do that method.
Yes.
But we should also do, we're going to talk about 50 other methods, right?
Relational evangelism. We can go with economic evagelism.
There's
we
a lot of
them. Yes,
there's a lot of them, right? But the relational one, because your experience, I remember this. This is a guy that he really took his time. I remember the situation, and I remember you talking to me about this guy, and you said, I think I'm going to get him in the water. And you called it before he actually called you up and said, okay, I'm ready. You told me, you're like, you were closing the deal. You were new. It was like a sale, man. You're like, I'm getting one for the kingdom. Yes. I'm getting this one. I got him, Peter.
Yes.
I got him. And David's a fisherman, by the way. David's a deep sea fisherman. So he's a special breed of fisherman. Right? He knows the height of the shelf in different places and things like that.
Yes.
And so he's a fisherman. So, you know, he's in there with the difficult ones, man. He's like, Yahuwah sends him in for the hard fish, boy, the really tough to get, you know, mackerel or something. I don't know, whatever the tough ones are. I don't know, nothing, you know, what do I know, right?
Yeah.
But here he is, he's pulling, and he get it in the boat. You landed him. He came in.
Yes. And, you know, it was the great thing about that, though, was when it came time to do the baptism, he says, well, you know what? I think, you know, because his wife had also been listening the whole time. But she was a little bit harder nut to crack, right?
A little further out, a little further away, like
a little further away. And
what did he say?
Yes. So he told me then, well, there's a possibility she might. And she was like, ain't gonna happen. So anyway, make a long story short, is we went ahead and had the baptism, and then the following week I went back to clean the pool, and he comes up to me and he says, I think she's ready. And so she comes over to me and says, the reason why I'm doing this is because the change that I've seen in this man in just 1 week. In just 1 week. He went from depressed and lethargic to he was happy, he was joyful, he was he was excited, and that got her excited. And then all of a sudden, the following week, she got in the water too as well. So
wait, are you telling me that relational bred relational?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute, guys.
Come on now.
Relational evangelism bred
Red.
relational evangelism.
Yes, absolutely.
By developing a relationship, another relationship connected to that relationship got affected.
Yes.
And listen to the testimony.
Yes.
That's the part right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are religious people who've been in the water before.
Sure. Yeah.
Who've done religious ceremonies before.
Mm-hmm.
Who've gone to religious things before. But never have they been put in the water in the name of Yahusha.
Right.
And so they come up out the water and tell me again how they're the same. Are they the same?
Absolutely not the same. He was much more, like it was a big weight that lifted off of his shoulders. And, and he was so grateful. I mean, this guy, every week after that, because I continued to clean the pool for 3 or 4 weeks after that. Now, they were getting ready to move and all that, but anyway, make a long story short, is he was just like a different person,
right?
A completely different person,
and all from a slow drip method, right? Would you call it that, like a slow drip method?
You could say that. I mean, I packed a lot into that 45 minutes, but I made sure that I was led by the Ruach, and when the Ruach said stop, that's it for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't shut the whole
that's my point. That's the point I want to make.
Yeah. Don't
that's
shut
what
the
I want to
whole
circle.
loaf. Yes.
Thank you.
Don't shut the whole loaf.
You gave him a piece for today, and it developed a hunger.
Yes.
And he started to see this man has got something different than other people. He's got patience. He's willing to wait for the patiently for the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you got, he sees you patiently, a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Next thing he gets affected, and then somebody sees him. I mean, I'm looking at this ripple, okay? And I love that ripple. I love that because we don't know where that ends. You think you do. You don't know where that ends.
No. Listen,
you don't know where it's going to go.
Yes. I told him, I says, listen, now you are authorized.
Yeah.
Go out and baptize in the name of Yahusha, in the name of Yahuwah. Okay, so don't get this twisted. Don't think that this was a one and done and you're done. Okay, no, you go out.
Yeah, we need you now.
Yes, we need you to go out now and tell what you have learned.
I'm so glad you brought that up, David.
Yes.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Let me quickly do a quick commercial here, folks.
Right.
If you are somebody that needs water baptism and you are out there anywhere in the world, I don't care where you are, give us a try. We may not have anybody near you, but we'd love the chance to at least try. So at least let us know and give us a chance to see if one of our friends and family that are connected with Remnant House all over the earth might be interested. Somebody contacted me from a part of Africa. Didn't know that we had people there. So you just never know. So just reach out to us if you need to be water baptized in the name of Yahusha. And you've been meaning to do it. This is the year for it. This is the time you're going to do it.
This is the
all
hour.
right. Let us know. Get in touch with us. The Alliance is here for you. The Alliance of Remnant Ministry, something we talk about every week here. And David is part of that alliance. We are united. We don't compete. We are here to work together to get people saved and filled with the Ruach and get them walking out of Egypt toward the promised land.
Yes.
Okay. Move them this way. Tell them to go forward. Isn't that right, David?
Absolutely. And that's basically what happened with those two is we basically walked them out.
Right.
And I tried to keep up with them, but we can't always
No, you can't. You do your part, right?
Your part, and you pray that some other alliance member will come along and water that and continue to cultivate that and continue to bring that to the place, where he wants us to be. So
yeah, evangelists are not pastors, are they?
no, we are not, and we're not teaching. I had a couple of people that wanted me to teach and stuff like that, and I really just didn't feel comfortable with that. And I tried telling them in a nice way that that's really not my calling.
Right.
But at the time, at this time, I was the alliance wasn't around yet, so I didn't have any place to point them. Really, I just pointed them actually to you.
And man, I tell you, the alliance is coming together. More ministries are contacting us. We speak Beraka over all of you. We are not here to compete with you. We love you guys. We love all of you, and we're on your side. And we want to cheer for you. We want to be part of your cheering section. Are you hearing us? Hear our heart. Hear it, please. Hear our heart. We're cheering for you, okay? We want to cheer for you. We want to encourage in any way that we can the work of the ministry in this hour, wherever it's happening. Amen. Yeah, I got people on here. I got my people on here. Let me tell you. And I got even people from New Zealand on here, my friends.
What?
Right now, okay? I got people, let me tell you. All right? So don't tell me we couldn't get you in the water, pal. We'll get you in the water.
Yes. From down
Remember,
under.
there was a guy who went from Texas to Florida just to get water baptized. People, and now next thing you know, now he's in Texas, he can get people baptized. So and we've steered a couple that way, and that's how it works. And so, when there's somebody that needs to get, say you're in, I don't know, Idaho or something, we say, hey, anybody in Idaho? And hey, we're 2 hours from where that person lives. There you go. You meet in the middle, you get in the water, it gets done. Now you can set up shop, right? You're a franchisee of the kingdom now. Okay. Now you can get them in the water and get them filled. And when they start asking you a million questions, you say, oh, I don't know all about that. Listen, go join the alliance.
Well, yeah.
Go find yourself one of the shepherds in one of the ministries that will cultivate you, encourage you, right? Because evangelism is about getting you out of the water into the boat, but then they got to short you.
Yes.
Put you where you belong, right?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of the way it's going to go down?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You pass them off to your team member. And and then you just keep fishing, and if Yahuwah wills, I would love to be able to just drop everything in a moment and meet somebody somewhere to get them baptized in the name. So
if you're in Florida,
I'm talking about going all. Who knows?
David does that. David is known to go a long ways to get people in the water.
Yes.
You're special.
I will travel a ways.
Not too many people would do that.
Happens.
You hear that? That's why we love him. Isn't that why we love this guy? Come on, man. And that's our whole team's like that, by the way, guys. I could put any one of our team members in that spot, and you'd hear similar things come out of their heart, just the way they love one another. And isn't that true, David? When we get together with all of our brothers on this team and this family, it's kind of amazing, isn't it? How all the gifts always working together.
It is the best team, for lack of a better, or gathering, or that I've ever have had the privilege of being a part of. Where people are not competing.
Yeah, it's a big theme. Big theme. Yeah,
it is a big theme. So I really love I love my brothers and sisters. I love them all. I think they're all amazing. I think they're all great testimonies of Yahuwah's mercy and grace, that he didn't just leave them there. He picked them up. But he picked them up.
Look how much they accomplished too. I mean, the thing that I see is, it's not just, oh, I'm saved now. No, it's I'm saved. Okay, what are we going to do now? Where am I working? What's my job? What's going on here? Where do I plug in? What's going on?
Right.
You're like, whoa, I haven't seen much. Most of the time, people are like, where's my 5-inch cushion? That's the best you're going to get out of them, is they're going to come and sit. No, You're
Right.
watching something else here.
Right. Right.
So this
right.
evangelism is at another level, David. It's now coming to the point where people are saying, I don't just want to come, into a philosophy.
Right.
I don't want to just come into a building. I don't just want to come into a club.
They've had enough of that.
I want to come into a kingdom.
Yes. Yes.
With a military and an economy and technology and communication. Okay. And all the things that come with any kingdom, and a society that functions. Those are 5 areas that are basic to any entity on earth ever in the history of earth. And all of those things need to be functioning. Yes. I'll say them again. You need communication. You need technology. You need economy.
Natural health care.
You're going to need security or military. And you're going to need society, which is partly how do you care for them? Our brother says to me, he says on the broadcast last week, I've been at this 40 years. Peter's been at this 30 years. We still can't find the hospital for the Nazarim.
Right. Exactly. I still want to see that happen. I still want to be a part of that. I mean, that's to me, that is so critical in this hour.
Can't find the hospital to the Nazarim. That's a challenge. Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. So today I heard from one of my brethren who said, we got the maternity ward covered. Look, there's people that talk and there's people that walk.
Yes. That do. Yes.
So you give us some time and watch what we do. Because we believe that's a word from Yahuwah. Why are you not caring for your people? While you're over here waiting to whisk away, why don't you take care of them? While you're waiting to whisk away, since you're leaving, and you don't care about these assets that you're leaving, why don't you help your brothers and sisters while you're going to whisk away next week, according to your YouTube prophet, right?
I'm sorry.
Somebody should help those people out with the meek inherit the earth. So I'm not going anywhere.
There's that.
And I'm waiting. And if I do leave, it's with a round trip ticket. So there's that.
Come on.
But what we have to discuss and what we have to encourage in this hour, David, help me out here, is we got to get back to the basics, because I think we got a lot of head knowledge.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't want to offend any of the remnant because you guys are so formidable. The last thing I'd want is a fight with any of you. But we do a lot of, encouraging people of certain things, but not the things that Mashiach said.
Yes.
And he told us to go ye into all the world and preach the good news, that they would be water baptized. I know that's just the beginning, but it's an important beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Apostle Moshe did a wonderful teaching on the 3 baptisms. He's absolutely right. But you don't get to 2 or 3 till you get to 1.
Right. Got to get the first one out of the way.
You got to get the first one out of the way. You got to do it right. It's a legal petition. You're standing between 2 worlds.
Yes.
What was covering the earth in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2? Water. Right. Water. So when you stand in the water, you're standing in the court of heaven. Okay? You with me now? Are you with me now? And he walks on what? On the water, because he's a Luah Hayam over the water, over all that is.
Yes.
Okay, over all that was, everything came up out of the water, the land, the sea, the animals, everything up out of the water. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the king of the water. He's king of all of it. He owns it all. It's unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And all he asks of you was to recognize that he's your creator.
Yes.
And so when you get in that water, you're coming back to the place of origin. It's where the land came from. And you're made of earth that came out of water. It's all connected, folks.
Yep.
And out of the water you come. You emerge out, new land. Land emerging again like in creation.
Very good. Very good. I like that.
Coming back up out of the water, recreated, no longer a kingdom of darkness vessel, now washed. And you didn't get in that water except that you got a word, so then you got washed by the water of the word, because the reason why you got in that water
Mhm.
It's because somebody preached the word to you.
Mhm.
So you really went in the water with the word.
Mhm.
Hallelujah.
Sure. It's all about sanctification, sanctifying oneself unto the service of Yahuwah. So, what we have found is
And
that
Moshe's joining us. He's Mr.
ah,
Funny Guy, but he's here. So that's good.
is he calling us cute?
He said we were cute. Well, that beats not cute. So I'll take it. I'll take
All
it. I love my brother.
Yes. Yes. So what getting back to the sanctification is,
Yes, Tim, we got to have dental offices. I'm sick and tired of sitting back. Okay. And so I created another thing today. I did a thing.
I saw it.
That's gonna go for other things. Hey, we got things to do.
Yes.
We got things to do, don't we, David?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And
Yes, we do.
it's not about the world ending tomorrow. It's about pushing and moving forward and building the kingdom of a.
It might end for them.
Very
It
well
might
could.
end for them.
Could.
Okay,
Good.
it's going to end for them, but the world is without end, according to the book of Isaiah.
Yeah, the wicked will be removed. That's
it.
for sure.
Come on now. Enoch chapter 1.
Yep. The meek shall inherit what?
The earth, brother.
Oh,
the earth.
Okay.
I mean, so getting saved and getting ready for the king's arrival might be a good idea.
It might be a fantastic idea.
Might be just the right. That's a capital idea.
Yes. And so therefore you should be consuming your scripture, your word, your doing that sanctification of getting in the water, and really getting your, obviously you can't do anything without him. But
no, some of you are going to get in the water again. You already did it once before. You might have done it 5 times. You're still going to get in the water again to get ready for the season, because you're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna fast. I'm gonna pray. I want Yahuwah to use me, man. I want to be a vessel this summer. Oh, I feel it. I feel it too, brothers. I'm gonna testify with you. I feel the anointing's coming. Like this is gonna be an epic moment. Yeah, get excited.
Yes.
Okay. He says, stir up the gift that is inside you by the laying on of my hand. Somebody say, okay.
Come on.
So this is, by the way, why you need to go find Yahuwah's anointed, because as Apostle Moshe taught you guys, and you guys need to be paying attention to these things, you're not sending us out here for our own good looks, although he is a handsome man, I have to tell you. He's sending him out there to tell you these things so that you get your hands laid on you and ministry imparted to you from people that Yahuwah has sent to free you, not control you. You got enough of those freaks out there. These weirdos are all trying to take over the world. What are we doing today? Pinky taking over the world. What is going on out there? No. He wants to set you free.
Yeah, come on.
Okay. He wants
break
to set
those
you
chains,
free.
Baby. Come on.
He said, go tell my people I set them free.
Free. Not put them in bondage.
Not more bondage.
Come on.
Need liberty.
Listen.
Where the Ruach of Yahuwah is, there is liberty. Amen.
Yes.
And so this is what we're really inviting them into, isn't it? Aren't we inviting them back into their sovereignty?
Yes. Yes. It's such a beautiful thing too.
But it takes that relationship, doesn't it? You broke that relationship, was forged over time, and little bit by little bit.
Yes.
And this is a guy, folks, that has gotten people saved on a one-call close. On the side of the road, in the streets. I was there. He would go out certain nights of the week, and they would come back. Oh, we prayed for 8. We prayed for 12. We prayed for 16 people. And that was just them. Then there were the whole other groups, and they would put them all together. It was like 500 people that night or something like that. Okay, sure. I remember this. So this is not a person that didn't have the ability to ask for that person to pray with them right then and there. He's not afraid, but he discerned. And this is after he's done all that one call closing in the streets. So even after all that experience, he got into the situation with this man, and he said, I'm going to slow walk with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take my time with this one. I don't feel like I should rush. I'm going to hold off here a bit. And David, that turned out to be the exact right method. So a guy who got raised, okay, and this is my point here, guys,
right,
who got raised in one call close evangelism, you had to learn new techniques.
Yes. Well, yeah, like I said, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of lies that have been spun that have to be unpacked. Especially when you're dealing with people who have already been exposed to all that other stuff out
right
there.
But so if you thought, the only method is the Reinhard Bonnke, you got to have a smoke machine, you got to get some music, you got to have a band. I mean, that's the only way you're getting people saved. We got to rent to half the park, that kind of thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think it works for some people, right? I think it does. It has this impact.
It can, absolutely.
I do believe it does. I believe it works. I believe that there's a value to a big gathering where you're a little able to come in and be inconspicuous. There's a value to that. I think a lot of people owe their first beginning of their relationship, maybe to a big meeting where they went forward. So I don't negate that. I think that's a good thing. But I just don't think it's the only thing. I don't think it's the only way.
No.
And I think when we start seeing even people that were street evangelists that had boldness and courage, and even they had to say, let me dial this back so I can actually get this guy instead of just blow him away with how smart I am, how much I know his name, and how many things I know about what's wrong with what he believes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it to you like this.
And how many scriptures I can recite. Yeah. Exactly, and which is all good, but it's not the cure all to end all. Is really your point, and my point as well is that there has to be. I'm really starting to value the whole relational evangelism much more than the hit them hard and close the deal.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
this is
maybe
what
it's
I'm
just
trying to say.
me getting older and wiser, Could be.
I do think that there's some of that, and I think that is very true. You are much wiser, although you don't look much older. You look pretty similar to the way you did 20 years ago, but wiser you definitely are.
Yes.
And that is why we want you on the broadcast, because you're the person who's had both kinds and multiple kinds really of evangelism. So to hear you say, David, that you think relationship evangelism is the most effective, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Well, it's the one that's going to hit the deepest. It's scratching past that surface and really getting into and really getting to understand the person that you're dealing with,
right,
or that you're talking to. That you're actually building a relationship that they're going to come back to you years later and say, my brother.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Thank you. Right.
Because you took the time.
Right.
To in this instant society that we live in,
right.
I think it's more of
right.
Relational evangelism. I'm telling you. And,
it's the ticket.
Yeah, that is the ticket. That you're going to spend time with them and really get to know them. Cry with them, that whole heart-to-heart thing.
Real.
It can't be beat, man.
That's correct. That is correct, my friend. And that is why we must do everything we can in our power, not just to preach the good news, but also from a holistic perspective.
Sure.
Bring people into, to use their words, they came up with this, to bring people into an ecosystem. Okay?
Yes.
So when you bring people into an ecosystem, you're not bringing them just into a thought or a philosophy. An ecosystem operates in totality, independent of other things, right? That's the point of an ecosystem.
Sure.
You go to
Sure.
the Amazon, you're going into a jungle ecosystem, and it operates on its own, and don't disturb it because it's all part of a cycle, right? Everything has its own balances.
Mhm.
And so in the kingdom, when you come out of the kingdom of darkness, you're supposed to be coming into the kingdom ecosystem, leaving the Egyptian ecosystem.
Right. Right. I.e. the ways of this world. Yes, exactly.
Correct.
Mhm.
So if that only is on the surface, if that is only at best just a appearance only, then how is that not what Messiah said, that they're outwardly righteous but inwardly dead men's bones? I mean, how is that any different?
That's wow.
If
Absolutely.
there's no actual ecosystem shift,
Yes.
if there's no actual joining of assembly, if there's no actual connecting to the body, if there's just agreeing with a philosophy,
Right. Then wow. The scripture has a lot to say about that. A lot to say about, if you don't fill that person with purpose and all that. Of course, this is not verbatim, but the long and short of it is that you can make them twice the servant of Sheol if they're not getting that connection, that ecosystem that you're talking about, where they get, where they connect up with a pastor, and they connect up with teachers and prophets and all that stuff. It's all entirely important, especially in these days that we find ourselves in.
right?
So the ecosystem is, man, you're hitting it right on the head there, man. That is so vitally important.
Isn't that what you would have found in the first century, is an entire ecosystem?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have just found some people who lived in Philippi and they sort of just gathered over here once a week. No, they lived together. They would work together. They would work and do business together. And because they were honest and not drunks, they did better. They don't persecute people unless they envy them. And the highest levels of persecution I've ever seen have been from people who were jealous of somebody else, their gift or their wealth or their wife or their husband or something. Boy, when they get envious, do they ever beat that person nonstop? Never do you ever see anybody beat another person like an envious person.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You just go, wow, you envious. My goodness, it's all over. You're just green. You look like the Hulk over there, right?
Yes.
But it's true, isn't it, David?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Very distasteful. I'm not going to sit here and act like I, never done anything like that, because, we all had to grow up. We all had to come to that place where, that's it. I can't just, I need change. I need change. I need you. I need you. Holy Yahuwah, I need you, because, you would think by now at in your latter years that you would have it all together. And then when you find out you don't, you start asking yourself some different questions. Really.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't send in an emissary unless something must be changed. So clearly America needed major change.
Yes.
America is now getting it. It is unfortunate that so many people will and have perished in this rescue effort. But it was a rescue effort, wasn't it, David? Absolutely. This rescue effort's been going on for multiple decades to save a nation that doesn't even know it needed to be saved.
Come on. Absolutely.
To intervene in things that people didn't even know that was affecting them. Talk about a thankless job, David. Sometimes evangelism's a thankless job, isn't it?
Sure it is. Sure it is. But you know that you're going to be able to stand before him and say, I did the best that I could. And he's, what he's going to say? Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter in.
That's right.
Because
Today
you didn't come empty-handed. You didn't come in empty-handed.
That's right.
You may not have did everything perfect, but you didn't come empty-handed.
There you go. There you go. Today I saw a meme that I had created years ago, and I recognize my work.
I can recognize your work anywhere.
I know you can. And so I recognized my work, and they had cut out Remnant House, and they had cut out, they anything that identified where it came from.
Uh-huh.
But it didn't change the fact that I recognized my work. And I said, well, look at that. It's still going around. They didn't want me to get any credit for it.
Oh, wow.
But it's still making the rounds. And I laughed.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I remember creating this meme. And this guy says, yeah, I remember stealing it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. He's going to reap memes. I mean, he sowed memes. He'll reap memes. I'm sure that's going to be positive somewhere along the way. I'm not sure what you're reaping there, but hey, maybe you'll get them back. So I sowed a bunch and I got them back, and the pressed down, shaking together. So we need to sow to our brothers' freedom, so we get more freedom. Yes. Sow to our brothers' joy, so we get more joy. Yes. Sow to our brothers' breakthrough, so we get more breakthrough. Amen. Sow to our brothers' health, right? Build the hospital.
Come on.
Help your brother who's hurting. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And you reap.
Yes.
I don't think too many people are going to help me with that. I don't think there's too many courageous people that are willing to help. I got a crew that'll help me, and we'll make it happen. But I'm not going to hold out a lot of hope that a bunch of people are going to hear this broadcast and say, hey, let's go make a hospital. No, you're going to leave it to us to do it. That's what you're going to do.
I know. I see what you're doing here. I'm just saying. Listen. I can't speak for everybody else, but
I already know. See, David's about to say. Go ahead, David.
I'm in 100.
Yeah, see, that I had to ask him.
But listen, there are this whole eating right and looking at labels and this is really starting to become a thing now, and it's not just in the Nazarene. It's not just it's everywhere.
Come on,
and people are really waking up to the fact that they have been poisoned.
Yeah, but where's the Amish hospital?
They do that. They do that stuff in their own homes. I know for a fact they got 50,000 tinctures in their homes.
Well, sometimes people need to get out of the environment that got them sick.
There you go. Absolutely.
Or doesn't that matter?
Oh, that absolutely matters.
It used to be that we put people on linen sheets and linen beds, grounding them, making sure they got fresh air, beautiful sunshine, lots of air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them natural things. We dewormed them because we knew back in the day that was about 80% of the problems that go away if you just dewormed them.
Yes.
So we knew that. If you go back, you'll find that. You go reading the history of the books, the medical books. That's all they talked about. Yep. So it ain't like it's a hidden concept. It was literally all they talked about. That's it. No, that was medical care. Medical care was deworm them.
Yeah, it got suppressed. Unreal. It got suppressed.
Unreal. We don't even talk about it. It was all they talked about.
Yes.
And we went from living incredibly long lives to living crippled lives because you're on these things that are feeding parasites versus killing them. Yeah. So they gave you parasite food for food. And what happens if you keep eating and you become consumed by the worm? I think at a certain point you become a worm. And so you don't want to be consumed by worms, so that's what you become. Or haven't you heard you are where you eat?
Come on now. Yeah, this whole I could eat whatever I want. It's all under the okay. Yeah, okay. All right.
You can do whatever you want. You can also deal with the repercussions, and everybody else has to deal with consequences and circumstances that come as a result of your choices. So yes, you can do whatever you want, but you will be dealing with the repercussions of whatever that is.
There's good.
That's why there's a narrow road, right? That's why he gives us a narrow road. David, before we let people go, I love your example. I love the fact that you continue to be that on fire vessel. What is it that keeps you? I mean, I know it's Yahuwah. I know that it's the fire of Yahuwah, but you just never lose that energy for evangelism, do you? You just are always ready to get people saved. Tell us before you go. Tell us why that is.
Well, first and foremost, it's a huge honor
Yeah.
It's a huge honor
Boy, that's a good way
to
to look
be
at
the
that.
one to start that process
Yes, that's
for
true.
them, that process of sanctification, that process of cleansing, because, it really is. I can't say no to him. If he puts in, if he gives me the opportunity, I'm going to take it. Because, truth of the matter is I love my King. I love him, with all my heart. And if he tells me, yeah, he's right over there. Go on.
Go talk to that one.
Talk to that one.
Go invite him into the family.
Yeah. Then I'm going to do it. To really point at any one thing, there's nothing that I've ever done. I just keep saying yes.
Oh, wow. That's a great place to end right there. Did you hear that, folks? He keeps saying yes. Thank you. So I'm going to stop right there. Thank you so much, my brother. That was beautiful. And folks, I just want to encourage you to keep saying yes. Say yes to him when he gives you an opportunity. When he says to you, hey, that person over there, go start up the conversation. That's your moment. He set that whole thing up. You don't be afraid. You go on over and sit next to him. And maybe it's going to be someone at work. Maybe at school. Maybe it's going to be a friend you make online. And little by little, you're going to share with them. Don't push too hard. If their hunger isn't there yet, wait for it. Be patient. Be like a good fisherman that waits for the nibble, waits for that feeling. Right? And I have some fisherman friends that are amazing, like my brother Scott Kale. And he gets that line, and boy, he knows just when to pull that thing in. And if you watch this guy's timeline, you will see some of the most magnificent fish you've ever seen. And why? Because he's learned to be patient. Because he's perfected his craft. This is what I encourage all of you to do. Scott is a wonderful example of a fisherman. And that's what Yahushua says. He will make us fishers of men. And not men in the, you've got to get them all at once. Sometimes it's one at a time. And those are the ones that have a coin in their mouth. Isn't that amazing? And so let me encourage all of you to be a people that aren't afraid to share the hope that is in your heart. I pray that is you. I pray you are one encouraging others to get in the water. Well, that's it for tonight. I pray this broadcast has been a barakah to you. It certainly has been one to us. We certainly are thankful to all of you who are partnering with us, who stay the course and have remained part of the house. Thank you so much for your honor to Yahuwah and your friendship with us. It means so very much to us. Well, that's it for tonight. May Yahuwah Baruch each and every one of you. And remember, Yahushua HaMashiach, he alone is King of Kings. Amen.